Context of reasonable chastisement is that you as a parent can decide what is reasonable. Now, reasonable is such an arbitrary measure, because what's reasonable for me might not be reasonable for someone else, and in the heat of the moment, what deemed is reasonable could be quite abusive. I think it's a victory for all children. It's a landmark moment, and I do think the long, hard work is starting now, because it's really about how we change the debate around parenting of children in the home, that in fact physical punishment doesn't allow children to understand how to behave differently, and I think it's really critical that we start thinking about how we parent in positive ways.
If we just reflect on the violence that's happening in our country, and the fact that evidence shows that everything starts with the upbringing of children. And so if we want to change the culture of violence in South Africa, we must begin to understand that the way we parent our children is important to build a new society.
Parents have to now actively try and find positive ways to discipline their children without using violence to communicate with their children. So essentially what we're trying to do now is that we're telling our kids that it's not okay to use violence to communicate.
The assault laws apply to any degree. There's no such thing as a light spanking or a light smack. It covers the whole range. The reason being that even those light spankings often lead to more severe forms of violence. And they do teach the child that the way to solve a problem is to use violence. As children's rights activists, we've been really making it explicit that violence against children leads to violence against women. Because children, when they experience violence as a child, they will grow up to either experience violence, so women are more likely to be exposed to violence or attract relationships that are violent, or they are likely to perpetrate violence if they are boys. So by preventing violence against children, that is the best long-term method that evidence has shown from across the world to prevent violence against women.
We've been campaigning for many years to end corporal punishment of children in the world. South Africa is now the 7th African state to have prohibited corporal punishment of children, and it's the 57th state in the world. So we're happy. There is a trend, there is a momentum to end corporal punishment of children through the law, with law reform, and also campaigning for children to be protected from corporal punishment.
There will be no charges